Hello and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, a podcast for manufacturing professionals. I'm your host, Steve Plumb, Editor-in-Chief of SME Media. Please remember to like and subscribe to our feed. I'm joined today by Todd Smith, President and CFO of Associated Metal Forming Technologies, or AMFT for short. Based in East Lansing, Michigan, AMFT specializes in precision engineering and manufacturing, boasting 5 legacy brands, including Associated Spring, Hanger, Metal, Winkleman, and Skodai. Prior to joining AMFT, Todd worked for Partners Group, a global private market investment firm. So welcome to the show, Todd.
Steve, thank you very much. Happy to be here with you.
So before we get started, I was wondering if you'd give us a little bit more background about yourself and AMFT.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So I'll start with myself. So I've been president and CFO of AMFT for roughly 18 months. Prior to that, I was a CFO of a business that built cell phone towers, spent 11 years in private equity, as you mentioned, and was a lawyer and did some banking before that. So a mixed bag of experience in my past, but it served me well as I've taken over the president role at AMFT in the last 3 months. AMFT is, as you pointed out, the combination of 5 legacy brands that have over 300 years of combined expertise in precision springs, deep drawn parts, fine blank components, and metal forming solutions. And since your Associated Spring and Heinz Hanger were carved out of the Barnes Group in April last year, we then expanded the family and the group to include AH Metal Solutions, then E. Winkleman, and more recently Skodai. And really, the focus for having the group under one name is that we go and we do more than just springs. And I think the rebranding initiative under AMFT more recently was really about working with our customers and really highlighting to our customers the depth of our expertise, and also recognizing that we have a global footprint as we have sites in the Americas. We have one site or 2 sites, I should say, in Asia, and then 3 sites in Europe.
So give us a kind of a scope of how big the company is. I know about a dozen plants worldwide. How many employees? Was Associated Spring the largest of the groups previously?
Yes. So today we have 10 sites. We have 3 in the US, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Brazil, Singapore, Thailand, and then we have Germany, Denmark, and Switzerland. And today we have 1,267 employees globally, and we think having that global footprint really gives us a strategic advantage in the current climate to serve our customers and meet our customers globally where they need us.
So you had some experience in this, at least on an individual company basis when you were working at the equity firm. But what were some of the biggest challenges of melding the 5 companies and cultures, especially regionally, together into one unit?
Yes, I think that the most important lesson that we've really or I've instilled within the team is there's standardization and then there's harmonization. And I think the importance of harmonization is respecting and understanding how some of these individual sites have operated and how they do things, and also not necessarily imparting the way it was done at Associated Spring on them, but bringing some of their best-in-class, best demonstrated practices into Associated Spring, and being able to let the sites continue to operate the way they have previously, because they've all been very successful. And it's really, as we talk about, I don't mind how they play. We'll define the sandbox. They can play in the sandbox how they want in order to continue to be successful and serve their customers. But we also want to help them grow. And as a sort of a single group, we believe that the group can really help each other and grow across the globe with our customers.
So, several of these companies were family-owned enterprises. What was it like, first of all, negotiating and attracting them to, convincing them to become part of this? And what were some of the common things that you were looking for during the acquisition period?
Yes, I think that really, Steve, that the legacy of Associated Spring, we serve large transportation customers, OEMs. And so when we were looking at undertaking additional acquisitions or talking to acquisition targets, we're looking for high quality sites with high quality operations and high quality customer bases where we believe that together we can make 1 + 1 = 3. And I think that is where you're having these discussions with family owned businesses and explaining to them and walking them through how we think about integrating and how we think about having a global business development team can help them achieve their growth ambitions. And things like what we talk about cross-selling, Metal Solutions has very strong medical capabilities, particularly in ECG studs. And that was one of the attractions for Jesper, who's the owner of Metal Solutions, in partnering with us, was being able to penetrate that market in the US. And so we've over the last 12 months spent a bunch of time. Jesper spent time with potential customers in the US, understand that market, and that is something that we've been able to enable him and the team at AH to do as part of the AMFT family. And similarly with Skodai, we really see that the capabilities, the stamping capabilities that Skodai has in the US is deep and almost unparalleled, and allows us to serve our existing customer base in the US with a broader set of capabilities, have a broader set of needs that we believe we can meet with having Skodai as part of the family.
Was there any overlap in product and or customers beforehand?
With E. Winkelman, because E. Winkelman's legacy is in automotive, there is some small overlap in customers. But as we look at all of the customer of each of the acquisition targets, very little, right? And I think that's a testament to what you really see is how big the market is for custom and precision engineered metal components globally. And so that was also, the when you think about transport OEM, automotive OEM, tier one suppliers, OEM customers, the ability to serve them through cross-selling, right? Because Winkelman is very experienced, deep expertise in stamping. Obviously, the legacy of Associated Spring is in coiling. And so being able to go to market effectively with this global footprint, global product portfolio to customers, opens up a lot of opportunity for us, or has opened up a lot of opportunity for us over the last 12 months.
So how far along would you say you are in the integration process, especially with the most recent acquisition this year, in terms of having, a commonality between the company and just implementing some of the best practices?
So I would say with AH and Winkelman, I think we're probably 95% integrated, as much as we need to be integrated. I think with respect to Skodai, we're probably close to 80 to 85%. And really those last 5 and then 15, 20% is really focused around, KPIs and aligning on how we think about, operational KPIs. Because from a financial reporting standpoint, system ERP, we allow each of our sites to remain on their own ERP. We don't go and implement and put a new ERP system into the site. We have a Oracle, as Hyperion system. Oracle is a very good partner for us. Allows us to plug in effectively their ERPs into that system and us to consolidate financial reporting. We use a Salesforce as our CRM that we provide very detailed training for the new members of the family as they come on board. And then really it's largely around, as I talked about, that what we think about is our operational KPIs that we want to speak the same language. Now they may be on-time delivery. They're very much a big focus for us and making sure we meet our customers' deadlines. But there's different ways to calculate it, and so we want to be, as I said, harmonized or standardized. That we are talking all the same language around things like that.
So AMFT came into being at an interesting time for the manufacturing world and the world at large. Coming out of COVID, you mentioned just in time, and there's a little bit of debate on what to do with inventory management now. And these days, supplier resiliency continues to be a major topic, as does most recently this year tariffs. How has AMFT kind of navigated the all of this, especially the tariff situation?
Yeah, I think the nice thing about our business or our family, so to speak, is that we have sites located across the globe. And so where we have been bringing product into the US, we've been working very closely, that has been subject to tariff, very closely with our customers to understand their end use of the product, to really understand what the potential tariff impact has been, and our customers and our brokers, our freight brokers, have been great partners to us as we've navigated those challenges. I also think it's opened us up to opportunities that we probably wouldn't have seen, where we're in discussions with customers who are looking to onshore or reshore their manufacturing that was maybe previously done in the US, that's now was being done offshore. And I think from a supply chain resiliency standpoint, are looking to bring that back to a closer proximity to their manufacturing facilities. And I think the other big one has been you're sitting down and talking to customers about where we need to be, or where do they need us to be from a regional or even local manufacturing standpoint. And I think that's been one where, as I say, can I shift manufacturing a certain highly engineered precision metal component today and turn it up tomorrow from Brazil to Singapore? No. But we have had discussions, or we're in multiple discussions with customers who are looking to have capability. Say they may be getting it from Europe today, but they want to get a portion of the volume from Europe and a portion out of Asia. And so that is where the global footprint that we have allows us to navigate and work with the customer on when we can knowledge transfer that capability and turn up those volumes for the customer. And I think that's a core part of our strategy, based on having a global footprint, is really saying to the customers, we will meet you where you need us, right? And yes, there is a period of time, as I said, where we can start producing product off the dock for the customer at a site, but we will absolutely be there for the customer where they need to put, be it on a regional basis or a local basis.
So I think with all the companies together, it's 300 years plus years of manufacturing experience. The bulk of or half of that comes from Associated Springs, which definitely a lot of know-how, but some legacy plants and equipment, I would imagine, in there too. How do you go about leveraging the existing equipment with new purchases and new investments?
Yeah, so we look at it each year as there's growth. Obviously, we see opportunities with our existing customers where we need an additional tonnage of X tonnage press, or we need a new coiling machine to serve our needs at one of our Associated Spring sites. There's also maintenance, right? And it really comes at maintenance capex, and we've got a great operations team who are looking simply at math, right? Like, you keep spending monthly maintenance costs to fix the machine. It's like, at what point does that just become a need? You know what? We just need to get a new machine. And I think that is, we do for sure have some very old but a very effective equipment that does what it needs to do for us today. We also have other equipment that we are in the process, or have over the last 18 months, replaced, because it's too critical. Not only is the actual product mission critical for the customer, but getting it on time, to your earlier point, is so we can't have situations where we've got lines down or machines down, jeopardizing our customers' supply chains. And so we've been very committed, and we have a very focused CapEx program that we size each year. And sometimes it feels each of the sites put their timely Christmas Santa Claus wish list in, and we have to go through and really look at it. But it's a big part of the business now of refreshing and thinking about where's the investment for growth, where's the maintenance, where's also safety, right? Safety is our number one priority. There is 1,266 employees. That is my number one priority, that go home every night to their families safe, right? And they come to work in a safe environment. And so we have to invest in safety as well.
So now that you're kind of all under one big roof, even though your companies are operating independently, and one of the things that were hit the hardest with the tariffs were materials, which is a big part of your business, and automotive as well. How much volatility is there in the marketplace on materials right now? And do you see any slowing of that? And also, were you able to gain any economies of scale by through the acquisitions?
Yeah, I think I may answer the second question first. So we have each of the sites does buy their own raw material, right? They see the demand from the customer, but we have a really strong VP of global supply chain who understands raw material like the back of his hand, and has many long years of talking and spending time with mills. And so Damon's job is to really be looking at where we can buy aggregated product, and getting large volumes, and getting volume discounts from our suppliers based on that incremental volumes we're now buying as a group, or looking at buying in a group. And I think when you look at E. Winkelman and Hangy and AH, they're not in the whole scheme of locations that far apart, right? So from a geographical standpoint, there is the ability to look at an aggregated buy, and we have a regional supply chain person working with Damon as well to make sure that they are getting aggregated purchasing. Similarly, as we think about Corey, Pennsylvania, Skodai in Chicago, Illinois, and our Milwaukee site, again, similarly looking at where we can leverage buying buying your volume at a cheaper rate. In terms of the volatility of the actual raw material, we have not we didn't see a lot of volatility. You saw simply the cost just increase simply by the tariff or the surcharge you were getting. That I think has ebbed and flowed depending on where you're buying your raw material from, and then what the percentage of raw material is as you think about bringing product either into the US. What percentage of your product is being made up of your raw material versus value added service? So as I said, we have a great team who really is taking that global view and working with each of the sites to make sure they're getting best execution in a way of their supply chain, because it's a competitive market. But I think we have a great team that's always thinking about our operational excellence, and that includes supply chain to be the best we can be from a competitive positioning standpoint for our customers.
So, not only do you have a large supply chain to manage at each of the companies, but many of the companies are also part of the supply chain themselves. Especially on the automotive side. What have you learned from dealing with the OEMs and the tier ones as a supplier that you're able to affect on your own supply chain?
I think the importance of is partnership. I think that is is looking at it as they view us as key partners to them, and similarly we view our suppliers as partners, because there's criticality here, right? As you think about making sure that we have the right partners on our side who are plugged in with us, understanding our buying needs, and there's always ebbs and flows, and we can adjust orders as we see fit. And I think that's the biggest point: is they're not a vendor to us; they're our partners, because at the end of the day, they're a big part of the percentage of what the overall piece of product is, and so they need to be there right beside us and supplying to us, and we think about that, as I said, as partners. So we want priority in a way, right? Because we want to meet our customers' needs, because they're under pressure, right? I think you touched on it. It's no surprise when we think about the automotive industry in Europe. It's those OEMs are under pressure, and so we have to be making sure that we are, as I said, partnering with them and be viewed as a partner to them in what they need from us, and that's product of high quality, on time.
In one of the interviews I read, not sure about yourself or one of your colleagues, they referenced the term adaptive resiliency. Can you explain a little bit, elaborate on what that is?
Yeah. So for us, it's really for the customer, right? And being able to meet the customer's needs, as I say, where they need us, right? And being flexible. And so when we may be shipping product for today for Brazil to a customer up in Asia, right? We may be shipping that to Europe. But as the customers look at where their needs are, they may say to us, "Well, actually, we want you to supply us that product in Asia, or we want you to supply us that product in Europe." And so that means we have to be adaptive. That means, yes, Brazil's top line may go down, right? But Winkelmann's may go up, or Singapore's may go up, right? Because they're going to start manufacturing that product. But at the end of the day, the group wins, or still wins, right? And that's the most important thing. And I think that's been, we have a really great team that understands that we are one team, regardless of whether the name on your site is Associated Spring, Winkelmann, Hangy. But it's about being flexible and adaptive for the customer to meet their supply chain needs.
Would there be any potential for one of the 5 brands to produce product for another one of the companies?
We do that. Yeah, we because I think in the current environment, the feedback we hear from customers is around supplier codes, and so they only want to have one supplier code. And we're like, you know what, Hangy, if you quote it for the customer, get it quoted through eWinkerman. eWinkerman will transfer it to you, and you'll turn around and sell it to the customer. Right? We don't want. I don't want to have to make the customer burden for the customer to set up another supply code for eWinkerman when I can transfer the product from one to the other. We have our, all the rules in place for transfer pricing that have been vetted. That's what we do. And that's where it's the simplicity of our strategy of, we have a global footprint and we'll give it to you when you need it.
Another ongoing trend and a newer trend are automation and AI. First of all, how automated were the various facilities when you took them over, and what's the strategy moving forward?
Yeah, so there was some automation, and I think it's as we think about automation, one of the key areas we've struggled is in certain of the facilities or the sites, some of the tasks we've struggled to retain talent because grinding is not a particularly pleasant task, and so we're looking at working with actually One Equity Partners has a portfolio company that does factory automation. So we're looking at working with Kamau to identify where those tasks done where frankly it's just an unpleasant task for a person to do, and so we want to find ways to automate those tasks like grinding if we can. As we think about further automation, Skodai does have robotics. Brazil has robotics, and we're selectively looking across each of the sites where else we can add. Again, sometimes our team, sometimes the people are actually just frankly better at it, right? And so that's a hard trade to make. We've got a really skilled workforce that is invaluable and delivers for you, and so automating doesn't necessarily make sense. And I think from an AI perspective, we're still in the early stages of it, of trying to work out where it makes sense for us. Certainly, there's opportunities in finance, and as you think about those back office functions, we are partnered up with a startup firm that's actually going to put glasses on some of our employees to look at their or record in a way their actions to understand from a safety standpoint, right? And setting up how the shop floor should be set up from a safety standpoint and ways to optimize that. I think that is, that as I talked about, safety is critical for us. That to me is a really valuable insight that we'll get from doing that, and then we expect to roll that out with more sites after we do the initial pilot, which will be done in early in 2026. And so, I know our leadership team on the operations side has some IoT smart factory initiatives that they are looking at for next year as we think about putting together finalizing our 2026 plan that will go into the plan. But we're still, as I said, we're still in the early days. We see the importance of it, and I know our team are looking at where the right opportunities are to deploy it.
But speaking of smart factories and automation itself drives a lot of data, and I think it was maybe your engineering chief mentioned an article about managing data. And earlier you talked about ERP and the fact that you are letting each company kind of go what they had been doing. Is there an overall strategy for managing data? And I don't know, it was Jason that said, companies should pursue context, accuracy, and truth over vanity metrics.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're actually in the process. Well, first and foremost, the good thing is when you carve a company out of a public company, they're very good on data because they have to be. And I think being able to leverage that expertise and then impart that onto the acquisitions that we've made as part of the group has enabled us. Now we're in the final stages of closing out a data warehouse project, rebuilding our data warehouse to have really strong data reporting around, as I talked about, sales, orders, customer activity, operational metrics that will come through to us on a daily basis into Power BI. So we look at that as critical. Being both president and CFO, I'm a data driven person, and we like to use data as much as we can to make decisions. And so that's a critical part. And Greg Zello, actually our CTO, I added to his remit. He is our data officer as well, because it's just in the current age, making sure you've got good data, clean data that can drive actionable insight on a daily basis is critical for where we want to go and what we want to do.
So from a data standpoint, I know you probably wanted to do as much due diligence as possible going into the acquisition, but after you made them and got up and running, were there any surprises, either good or bad, that you found?
I think there's always surprises, but the good thing about all three acquisitions, it was the surprise to the upside, and I think importantly the opportunity, as I talked about from a cross-sell perspective, is where we more focused on the existing customer base, growth within the existing customers versus thinking about truly, what can you bring in or take to a new market. And I think that's where the upside has come through over the last 6 months. I also, because, and the reason I say that is the number of discussions we've had with customers, over the last 3 months since the rebranding was, oh, we didn't realize you were located there, or you had a site there, or, oh, we didn't realize you did more than coiling or springs or more than stamping X. And that just opens up much greater opportunity. And frankly, it's just a pleasant discussion to have with customers, where you can say to them, yes, we do this for you today, but by the way, we would like to be able to serve you here with this capability that we have.
So I mentioned this at the outset, but being an East Lansing, Michigan-based company, and I'm a proud Michigan State graduate. So how'd you end up in the East Lansing, Michigan?
So I think the legacy business of Associated Spring had a site near Brighton, Michigan, for a long time, and I think they're under Barnes. I think that site shifted. There was a transfer elsewhere, but the headquarters were kept in Brighton, and then we subsequently moved more recently to East Lansing.
So, your own background growing up overseas, I believe it was the University of Tasmania, and you're the first person I've met from there. But, a business background, a law background. What excited you and attracted you to manufacturing, especially kind of these legacy businesses?
I think the tangibility of what we do, right? I think that is, certainly you can open up if you've got an iPhone, you can look at the stocks and you can see Apple and Google and Meta and whatever, and you can get excited about the growth. But I think the tangibility of what we actually produce and where it goes and the essentiality of it is really what I get excited about. And, when I have a 10-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, and when my son or daughter asks me what I do, and you can explain to them, right, of where the product that we make and the capabilities we have go. Now, I don't know whether maybe you can if you do it, you're in tech and software, but I can certainly tell my son, when he sees a motorbike or an ATV, and you see the big springs, on that, we can show him, we produce those springs in Brazil, right? I think that's the difference, right? You can touch it, you can feel it, you can see it, and you can see as you walk through our sites, the pride and the care and just the depth of knowledge the team has in what they do. And when you listen to those engineering discussions with customers, right, they understand and why we are such a great partner for them globally, because of that depth of expertise and the pride in what we do.
So, you made 4 recent acquisitions. Are you still on the hunt for additional ones?
Absolutely, Steve. We are. We see the potential to continue to grow the family. I think as I touched on earlier, is that the growth in the market across our end markets in transport, and then even more deeply in as we think about the secular tailwinds you're seeing in power generation, your telecom and electronics, right? And obviously power generation from a standpoint of AI, data centers, that side, but also decarbonization and the energy transition. And so I think we would like to continue to add more capability. Obviously, we have medical and aerospace and defense. We would like to continue to add more capability to the family. We see, we haven't fully covered everything, all the product capability yet. So we're always looking for, really high quality businesses that can be additive and partner with us to continue to serve our customers.
Where are you today in terms of end market split across vertical? Is automotive still your biggest, and also regionally, what's your largest market?
Yeah, so I think we are today. Automotive is still our biggest. We're roughly around somewhere in 45% automotive, and then as we think about the general industrial, is a little bit smaller than that, and then you've got medical, aerospace, and defense as you think about those core 4 end markets. Regionally, Europe slightly larger than the Americas today, and I think when we look at our growth and opportunities for growth, Europe will probably continue to stay slightly larger than the Americas. But as I said, we would like to get some additional capability in the US, and so we're actively talking to targets that we'd like to have as part of the family.
So as we wind up 2026, what's your general outlook for the industry, and where do you see the most opportunities in 26?
Yeah, I think it's 2026. I'm excited about it, right? I think there's some challenges in the automotive sector. I think we can all see those, and there's no surprise. But where we look elsewhere, as we think about general industrial, as I talked about, power generation, decarbonization, AI driving telecommunications and electronics demand, we really get excited about that. And then I also think construction and agriculture, off-highway, heavy truck, we continue to see strong demand from customers in those core end markets. I don't think it's a surprise when I say that the defense spending, particularly in Europe, is really ramped up and provides opportunities for us and doesn't seem to be abating anytime soon. And then also, similarly, medical, right? We continue to see strong demand for our customers. So as I think about 2026, I'm really I'm bullish, right, on the opportunity set. We've got some work to do, obviously to hit the target we want to get to in 2026. But as I said, we have a great set of customers, and we think there's good opportunity to continue to grow.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Todd. Very informative, and good luck as you head into the new year.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you having me on, and have a good holiday season.
And if listeners want to learn more about AMFT, well, where can they go?
Steve, our website is amft.com.
And to learn more about the latest manufacturing trends and hear more of our podcasts, visit advancedmanufacturing.org and be sure to like and subscribe to our feed.